Where's your cash? Is your cash in your checking account? Like me, I've done something kind of silly. I'm just going to put my money in the Vanguard S&P 500 index fund, and I'm home free.
Just
not always the case.
No risk with that, right? Well, we're going to talk about that.
They're all telling us that today, 2026, the 4% rule is broken, and that you should be thinking more around 2.8% if you don't want to run out of money. He made this comment, he said, savers are losers. Not that you're a loser, but if you're saving, you're losing. At Barry, I followed the traditional advice. Buy term and invest the difference. My 401k, saving money. I don't have what I was told I was going to have. Question, where's your cash? Is your cash in your checking account? Like me, I've done something kind of silly. I've had $100,000 or $200,000 or more in a checking account, earning no interest, right? I wanted to move that money elsewhere. You might have cash in a savings account, in a CD. You might have cash under your mattress or even in your safe at home. Again, we're not saying don't have some emergency money, but if it's a lot of money, it's probably losing value, right? So the example we have here, this is just a straight $30,000 earning 0.5% interest in a traditional savings account. Most people with their savings account, they're probably earning 0.5%, unless you're aggressively out there looking for a high yield savings account, following what's happening in the market, in the economy. You can go online and get 3, 4, maybe 5% in a high yield. I don't know if it's that high right now, but it's changing all the time. So this is just 0.5% for 20 years. This 30,000 over a 20-year time frame grows to $33,000. Steve, in 20 years, you made $3,100.
Right. And what do you think the bank did with that money during the time that they paid you, a couple $1,000?
It's leverage, it's arbitrage, right? They're saying, we're going to pay you your 0.5%. We're going to make our 6, 8, 10, 12%. It's not our money. They practice OPM, other people's money. The alternative, we'll go to the next screen here. What if you had that $30,000 in a single pay, a single premium, high cash value whole life insurance policy? And what we're showing here is the 30,000, no more money going into a policy. What does a person get? They get, number one, a higher rate of return. It's about 5%. Number two, they get a death benefit, right? So day one, 30,000 turns into almost 60,000. So they've doubled their estate. So if they put 300,000 into this, they're going to wind up with a $600,000 death benefit.
Right.
And notice over time what's happening to the death benefit.
You got an increasing death benefit there.
And look at the cash value.
Yeah, which parallels. A lot of people get that confused, right? So the cash value is funding that increasing death benefit.
That's right. We want you to think of this, again, as an alternative. Don't be silly like I was years ago and have 100 or 200,000 in your checking account earning nothing. I wasn't even earning the 0.5% that I showed earlier. So shifting money to policies, shifting money to high yield savings accounts, you do need some money as an emergency fund, even hedge with gold, silver, crypto, whatever it might be. But if you've got too much money and you're seeing that money erode in value, we're saying there are better places to put it. And we love cash value whole life insurance because it's fully guaranteed. This money's liquid and your family is going to get a permanent death benefit upon this person's passing.
Right. And you talked about your 5%. I mean, you're talking tax-free growth with this as well.
Well, in a single pay, we want to clarify. Single pay, tax deferred. The other illustrations we've looked at, yes, tax-free use of that money, but
mention it. Yeah.
The death benefit is tax-free.
Well, and we do talk a lot. This is a single pay example. This just means that you took 30,000 and dumped it.
Popped it in, no more premiums
now
again.
You can use a traditional high cash value whole life policy for savings as well. We talk a lot about that. In fact, it's an ideal vehicle for that. And if you do that, you also have tax-free growth and some other examples that we've given on the channel very often.
And
So,
check this out.
yeah.
Someone could put in 30 grand right up front, 50 grand, 300 grand. In year 2, this policy has a minimum premium of only like $2,000 or $3,000. And they only need to fund that for 7 years. So to get tax-free, it is possible. You only need to fund for 7 years. We just want to clarify.
Yep.
In this cash value is tax deferred, but the death benefit is tax-free. It's still far better than just having your money in the savings account, earning nominal interest, and then letting the bank leverage your money to go out and make higher returns.
Right. And you do have the ability to access this cash very easily. So you think in the context of an emergency fund, you can get your cash readily available and you can even leverage it, right? In which we talk about a lot of those topics. I'm just touching on them here in our sacred cows because what you have is you have a bundle of tools to make the best use of that savings and build your wealth with it. So we talk about a wealth building system. So if you're brand new, just look at the other videos that we've done on a lot of these topics. And hopefully for the time being, we at least dispelled the sacred cow with the got to have a bank account, savings account, emergency fund in a traditional sense.
And I'm glad you clarified. This is emergency money.
Right.
You can pick up the phone or get online in your portal, request a policy loan. They'll have money to you in a few days.
Yep.
So you're not locking up your cash here.
And what did you do when you did that? You also had your money that continues to grow, right?
That's right.
So you leveraged it at that point. So just saying, lots of tools that are alternatives to your traditional, give your money to the bank, let them go make money while you kind of take a little scraps of interest with, we just want to be candid when we're talking about these sacred cows.
I'm just going to put my money in the Vanguard S&P 500 index fund, and I'm home free.
Right. Just
not always the case.
No risk with that, right? Well, we're going to talk about that. And that's one of the reasons why this is a sacred cow that we want to kill, because there is risk inherent in these accounts. So let's dive into that. I know, Barry, you've got some examples that you want to share.
Yeah.
And we want to talk about why is this a sacred cow?
And let's say this to start, at least from my perspective here. True diversification is not putting more money in the market or different index funds. True diversification is having different asset classes. So we're not saying don't ever have index funds. That could be a really good idea. Index funds, other stocks, right? A brokerage account. Maybe you've got a 401k or IRA. It's still all market-based. But what about real estate? What about a business? What about crypto? What about gold and silver? What about cash value whole life insurance that we're going to get into? So the idea is, we're not saying don't invest in the market. The idea is think about this from a diversified portfolio. But the last decade, this is 2000 to 2010. Now we're counting 2000 as a year, so it's really 11 years. But if you look at historical returns in a 10-year period, there are generally 2 to 3 years of losses. That's just how most decades are, 2 to 3 years of losses.
Right.
This particular decade had 4 years of losses. And what we're showing here is, although 2003 had a 28% return, 15% return in 2026, 25% return in 2009. You think, this is incredible, but what is the average rate of return in this entire 10-year, 11-year decade? It's 2.42%. Highlight that too.
Yeah.
And why?
It's not looking good.
Because of all these losing years. And we call this the sequence of returns.
Right.
If you've got a 50% loss, you have to have a 100% return just to get back to even.
Right. Don't miss that. As people do. They think, well, if I get 100% the next year, then I'm going to be back to even, right? Which is,
They haven't made any money.
right.
They're just getting the
So
money
you lose
back.
100%, then you get 100%.
You lose 50%, get 100% back, you're back to even. You didn't make any money.
So, okay, yeah. So maybe I'm getting confused. I don't know. We've been doing this for a while, but The point is that you don't want a sequence of returns downturn at age 62, for example. We talk about the timing of that and the concern when it comes to your overall financial stability, for one.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Let's look at the next screen. The next screen, we're going to put some money into the math, because math is one thing and average rate of return is another thing compared to an actual rate of return. So what we're showing here, it's that same 2.42% return. We're showing this person starting off with $50,000, but in year one, they're now going to add $100,000 to that 50,000. So they've put in 150. There's a loss of 9%. So they're actually at 136,000,
right.
not the 150 plus some returns because they lost. Well, in the second year, they put in another 100,000. There's a negative 11% return. They're at 208. Year three, they put in another 100,000. There's a nearly 22% loss. They're at 240,000. So they've actually got 350,000 into the account. There's 240,000 that's left in the investment.
Right.
And this is the sequence of returns. The idea that, hey, there's some great years here of 28%, 15%, 25%, but all that considered, the actual rate of return only jumped from 2.4 to 2.8%. Not 10, not 12. And what the financial pundits, the financial entertainers are missing in their conversation with you, the general public, is this conversation of the sequence of returns. People are not going to earn 8, 10, 12% every single year for the rest of their life.
Right.
Let's make a comparison. At the end of this decade, 1.37 million, let's look at the third slide. What if this money were to go into a high cash value whole life insurance policy that's properly structured for cash value growth? So, Steve, we're not doing this policy for death benefit. There is a death benefit here, but we're minimizing the death benefit and we're saying we want a guaranteed investment. This cash value whole life policy is focused on growing guaranteed money.
Right. And we're talking about a system, right? So we're talking about, when Barry's talking about true diversification, you could say that you need a system for your safe capital that is away from this correlated asset indexed fund model for good reasons, right? You have so much volatility. We're just looking at that previous screen with all those red years. So this is a way to stabilize your finances and also do better with safe capital, do better at growing it, managing it, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So
same money, okay? 150,000, because remember in the prior example it was 50,000 plus he put in 100. So we've got 150 in the first year and then 100,000 through the next decade. The net result, 1.45 million as compared to the 1.3 million that we saw in the volatile market scenario.
just by that, with that consistent.
Consistent. And check this out, the cash value, it's growing every single year. There are no losing years. With the cash value whole life policy properly structured to maximize that cash, you're going to get guaranteed growth on your money every year. Steve, this is also 100% tax-free. The market-based investment is taxable. So we want people to understand there's an alternative. We're not saying don't invest in the market. What we are saying is diversify your portfolio with something that's guaranteed, liquid, and tax-free. And 8 to 10, 9 to 10 times, you're going to outperform the stock market anyway because you're not dealing with the volatility.
And we're always talking about different aspects of this on the channel. So if you're brand new, check out a lot of our other videos that can give you different perspectives on this.
What people are told is that they can take out 4% of their retirement funds in retirement and they're going to be okay. But what we want to show is that the 4% isn't as legitimate today as it was maybe 20 years ago because interest rates were higher, returns were higher, people were getting a better result on their savings, money markets. They just had more money that they could plan on because interest rates were higher. So the 4% rule, what it basically says is you can withdraw 4% of your account and you have about a 77% chance of not running out of money.
Mm.
And if you say,
It's not 100%.
no, it's not 77%.
Okay.
Here we've got 100% up top, 90, 80, 70, etc. If a person said, you know what, I need a little better statistic than 77%,
Which I would think most retirees would probably, but
I'm going to only take out 3%.
right.
This means that they have about a 94, 93% chance of not running out of money.
Mm.
There have been studies done. Bloomberg, Dalbar, Dr. Wade Pfau is one of the gentlemen that we refer to as well. They're all telling us that today, 2026, the 4% rule is broken and that you should be thinking more around 2.8% if you don't want to run out of money. So on $1 million, if you take 4% out, you're saying $40,000 a year. What experts are saying today is about $28,000. So you got $1 million, you take 28,000 out a year, hopefully you're not going to run out of money.
So this is really the myth. The 4%, even the 4%,
Too aggressive.
and even that's not very adequate when you look at it.
If you want, so if you get on a plane, Steve, and the pilot says, look, we have a 77% chance today that I'm going to land this plane correctly. Are you going to get on the plane?
I wouldn't think so.
No.
Not unless I were suicidal, which obviously that's
Yeah.
another problem.
It's a problem.
Yeah.
And, you know, people say, well, maybe I'll take out 5%, 6%. The more money you take out,
Right.
the less likely you are to have enough money to get you into retirement.
So that 77% goes to, I imagine you're
In
taking
his
more,
case, it's under 50%.
under 50.
You take out 6%, you're under 30%.
And so for people that are just processing this, how bedrock is this in the financial world? I mean, this is something a lot of advisors tout, right?
That's right. You're going to hear this from financial advisors, Wall Street. This is their number one go-to, the 4% rule. It's standard. And what we want people to understand, that sacred cow of 4%, it is broken. If you plan that way of taking 4% out, it's highly likely you're going to run out of money. Now, we've got some solutions for this with cash value insurance that's tax-free. Even some guaranteed annuity income planning is a phenomenal way to help protect against this.
Right. We get a lot of questions about the guaranteed annuities and the system that we're talking about with cash value life that can create a wealth building mechanism and also tax-free income that is not correlated to any of this. So you're not working, you know pretty much what you're going to be able to draw down at that point, which is unlike what we're seeing here.
Yeah.
This 4%.
So we showed this next screen, we'll go to screen 2, in a prior video, but we want to reiterate a couple of things here since we're talking about the 4% rule, retirement income, retirement planning. This is the lost decade. We talked about the lost decade, 2000 to 2010. It's actually 11 years because we count 2000.
Right. That was the last sacred cow.
It was.
On Indexed, which is a good one for you guys to check out as well. So
the reason this comes into play right now is because most people that are looking at the Monte Carlo 4% rule, they're looking at market-based money. And we're showing in this particular year, the average rate of return of 2.4 and the actual rate of return of 2.8. People are being told that they're going to earn 8, 10, 12% returns in the market. This shows us the sequence of returns and the risk of the down years, the up years, and what's the net result at the end of all that. You're not going to earn 10% consistently year in and year out, which means you can't take out 4% consistently every year. So what if you get to retirement and you have a 36% loss in your portfolio? You're probably not going to retire that year.
Run through really quick, Bert. What are these based on? Are these actual returns?
This is actual S&P 500 returns.
So this was plugged into a calculator. So just so you know what you guys are looking at, and these are actual loss periods, and then you have your gain periods, but it shakes out when you do the calculations. You know, your average, your actual. So
And what if your portfolio is still all in equities? It's invested in the market and you have some 9% losses, 11%, 22% losses. Do you think you're going to be able to maintain a 4% withdrawal rate? No, you won't. And that's why we're saying some of your portfolio you should have protected. You should have guaranteed, which a guaranteed income annuity would help with that, and also guaranteed high cash value whole life. Overall, this video is to help debunk that sacred cow of the 4% rule.
and there you go. So you can draw your own conclusions about this rule, why it exists. Is it there to kind of prop up these highly volatile accounts for retirement planning? We'll leave it right there. But hopefully we gave you some key insights to reconsider this sacred cow and put it into your financial arsenal.
Robert Kiyosaki, in his book Rich Dad Poor Dad, which we highly recommend you read. Steve and I have written books as well. We recommend you read those. But he's made this comment. He said, savers are losers. Not that you're a loser, but if you're saving, you're losing. Well, why did he say that? We want to point this out. This is inflation, but it's inflation shown from the Fed. It's not accurate. 2024 inflation was 2.9%, 2025 inflation 2.7%. But we also see those contrarian arguments, the alternative groups out there that are saying, you know what, inflation was really 9% or inflation was really 15%. These are not true numbers, what we're seeing here. And if you're thinking, well, inflation's only 2 or 3%, I need to earn 5, 6, 8, 10, 12% on my investment portfolio to hedge against inflation.
Right.
But inflation is really higher and you're still losing money if you are earning a 10% or 8% return in the market. What do?
Right.
Well, this is only one scenario. We're going to get into another chart here in a minute. But Steve, what do you want to comment on regarding this?
I just want to, I think people are wondering, well, how is this inflation calculated? And you have the CPI, right? Which is really a cost of living increase number that people look at. But in my opinion on it, having looked at inflation a little bit, is just that it doesn't account for the loss of purchasing power of the dollar. So when they're printing a lot of dollar bills, which has happened, that currency is being devalued. So it's not only do you have, costs going up, maybe, because that's one metric, right? One point to think about. You also had your dollar value dropping. So it leads to a lot bigger problem with inflation that we're pointing to right now.
If you pull up the other screen here, the number one issue with the inflation and why does inflation happen is what Steve mentioned. It's because the Fed keeps printing money. If you put more money into the supply, you're going to have that value of the dollar come down because there's more supply. So as the Fed prints money out of thin air, if you're hearing something different on the news, oh, this is the reason for inflation or this is the reason for inflation. No, the accurate answer, the reason for inflation is because they're printing more money. That's an issue. And we see it here. This is the purchasing power of $100 since January of 2000. Is the chart going up?
It looks pretty dire, right?
Yeah, it's going down. This is just the 2022. We're in 2026 now. The trend continues downward. If you look at the dollar from 1913 to today, the dollar has lost 99% of its value. Yeah. You think, how is the dollar still the strongest currency in the world? Because it's being propped up with fake money.
Right.
Now, are we still using the dollar? Are we still earning the dollar? Are we still investing the dollar and saving the dollar? Yes, it's what we have to go to. Our point here today is inflation is robbing you of money, but also the devaluation of the dollar is robbing you of money.
Right. Now, a glimmer of hope that we had a little tad of recovery right here. Purchasing power. I thought that was cute in the chart, so I wanted to share it. Recovered a tad right around 2009, yeah. Interestingly. So, but this dollar, but this $100 is worth $58 in 2022. So this chart's a bit dated. but it makes the point that you got this working against you. If you saved, $100, if you're really old, let's say, or your grandparents saved $100, what's it worth just from the devaluing of the dollar? Now, so this idea of just parking a bunch of money in a savings account when you're getting 0.01%, whatever, obviously that is a sacred cow that needs to be addressed.
Yeah. So savings is good, but where else do you have money? We talk often about true diversification, not all market-based investments. There are other things out there that you can be doing with your money to hedge against inflation and even offsetting some of this devaluation of the dollar. So stay tuned. There are many videos on our YouTube channel at Insurance and Estates to learn more about alternatives.
One thing I want to touch on is that we talk about a system for building wealth, right? What you need, I think, and I know you'll want to comment on this, Barry, is when you have a truly compounding account that's not ever losing value, then you can have something that is combating this erosion of the dollar. So let's say your savings is is a guaranteed system, right, for growing money that is actually going to result in true compounding. We talk a lot about that in other videos that you guys will want to check out. So tax-free growth, guaranteed growth, all these things coming together in true compounding. If you continue to feed that consistently, you're going to be combating this kind of thing.
And what you're addressing, Steve, is the only way to have and get true compound interest, right? That hockey stick growth curve is with a guarantee. So if you're in the stock market, you can't have true compounding because there will be some losing years. Let's say you have a dividend paying stock and you reinvest the dividend back into the stock value goes down, you can potentially lose the dividend. You lose the compounding. We share, we like to promote guaranteed returns so that you have something in your portfolio that's a sleep well at night product, peace of mind, predictability. You don't have to worry about it. That is going to provide the compound growth for you.
Right. And a little bit of a hedge against this kind of a program. So hopefully that shed a little light on that sacred cow. This is number 9. We've got another sacred cow coming up.
It reminds me of a commercial I saw years ago from one of these big, powerful Wall Street companies that they had a green line, and this green line represented retirement. And it all seemed warm and fuzzy. It seemed, hey, if you're on this path with us as your financial team, you have no worries about retirement. And that green line was like, this is it for you. And what I realized, like in my 25-year career, I've had a lot of people come to me that have said, Barry, I followed the traditional advice. Buy term and invest the difference. My 401k, saving money. I don't have what I was told I was going to have. And hearing those stories over and over and over again, you would think you follow traditional advice, you're on this path to freedom, true prosperity, enjoyment. It just doesn't happen for most people. And that's the myth we want to debunk today.
Right. And I know you've shared that a lot. You've shared client experiences where people have come to you and said exactly that in other videos. So we have a lot of content that you guys can check out. But today's sacred cow is exactly that. Just the conventional financial education that you're getting if you don't look elsewhere. If you just look at all these sacred cows and hold fast to it, and that's it, then you could run into a situation where you end up feeling financially trapped. So we're trying to offer alternatives that help people break out of this trap through creating a wealth building system, through creating a structure that caters to a guaranteed growth of your wealth with some very powerful attributes. Barry, you probably want to share those.
I will, and I want to back up one step and ask this question. For those of you listening, have you ever lost money? I'm gonna bet that 90+% of people listening are going to say yes. Well, I've lost money.
Right.
How do you feel when you lose money? It's terrible. It affects you financially, obviously, but affects you emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, in your relationships. Losing money sucks. There's no simple way to say it. Losing money sucks.
Right.
And what we're sharing is this sacred cow, the 401k savings, buy term and invest the difference. We're not saying don't ever do those things, but we are saying there is an alternative. And what we want to share is this today. This is what we thrive on. This is what we love, because we know that people that we work with that have high cash value whole life insurance in their portfolio that is properly structured. This is key. Properly structured for cash value growth, they will have the peace of mind. They will never lose money. So we're telling you, you felt what it feels like to lose money. How would it be to feel in your life knowing you've got a product, you've got an investment that will give you predictability and that you will never lose money
Right.
in what we're talking about with cash value whole life?
I think it was Warren Buffett that said never lose money or
He
something
has
like
two
that.
rules.
So
Rule number one,
this is
never,
conventional.
don't lose
too.
money. And rule number two is
Right.
see rule number one, right? Don't
Right.
lose money.
So one of the last sacred cows we did was around indexed accounts and 401ks. And of course you're losing money and then you're getting it back. And so this is an alternative to that. It's a wealth building system that, we want to talk about as a way to wind up the Sacred Cows series. And it's something we prioritize here at I&D as well. So
And look, there is so much social proof out there about who's using high cash value whole life. Go do your research. One of our sacred cows, we showed banks actually using this
number one,
with
actually.
over 200 billion in this asset. So here's the idea. This is a whole life illustration, 150,000 going in year one, 100,000 year through year 11. You might only put 20,000 or 10,000 a year into a policy. You might want to put 500,000 a year into a policy. So we're not saying this is specifically to you. This is an example. We always encourage you to look at your own numbers. That's what we help people with. We want to look at this column right here that says cash value. And notice in the very first year, the cash value is almost $125,000. It's like 85% of your money. The problem with traditional whole life is that all the premium goes to life insurance. And in a traditional whole life policy, that first year cash value would be zero. So why are we getting 80, 85, 90% of the premium going to cash value? Because this is properly structured. There's a lot more we could say about this, but we're going to keep it simple. It's a properly structured policy so that most of your premium goes to cash.
So there you have your premiums. Oops, I kind of covered that. But
That's all right.
150,000 in premiums, and then you had 124.
Almost 125. And notice the cash value, it's never going down. And at the 12th year time frame, this zero is showing there's no more premium going in. So you're done funding a policy, but the cash value at year 12 is growing by 84, 88, 93, 98, over 100,000 a year, and you're not putting in any more money. Why? Because this is a guaranteed product. You're going to make money every year. Last thing we'll say about this, Steve is an estate attorney. Look at this death benefit. This is permanent insurance, not term insurance. It doesn't go away. Why do you as an estate attorney like permanent insurance?
Well, we talked about this in a previous Sacred Cow. There was the buy term and invest the difference video that I encourage you to check out. But that one talks about the weaknesses of term, because it ultimately is going to expire in a person's most vulnerable years. And that can lead to some really bad consequences. One, liquidity problems with your estate. And this isn't, all for barons of wealth. This can affect average people's estates pretty dramatically to not have any liquidity, which means cash in the estate to pay bills and do these kind of things. So that permanent death benefit is super powerful that way. In addition to just taking care of your loved ones, leaving a legacy, educating future generations, a lot of these sort of, kingdom principles that we talk about on the channel. So those are huge concepts.
We want people to understand. We want you to understand there is an alternative or alternatives out there. These sacred cows that we're debunking, we want you to recognize that many other people are doing this and some other things that we like to share. If you want guarantees in your portfolio, if you want access to cash, if you want tax-free use of money, If you want permanent estate planning ability, cash value insurance, we call it the ultimate asset. We would invite you, look at your own numbers, discover what the ultimate asset can do for you, for your family, and frankly, for future generations.
And in closing this series, I just want to say that we're not pushing a product right now. We're pushing a system and a strategy. People get that very confused. And then the system supports everything else. So if you wanted to invest in the markets or whatever, you can have a system that underpins everything that's powerful here, that supports everything else. We have so many videos on that topic, and I encourage you to check them out. And we'll respond to comments and questions on this, anything in this series. And we want you to be part of the community, of course. And glad to have you watching today, and glad to have you be a part of this series with us.